Hi everyone, Steve Patterson here from PhotoshopEssentials.com. In this video, we'll learn how to whiten and brighten teeth in Photoshop. If you're watching this video on our website, you have access not only to the video, but also to my complete text version of the tutorial. So you can watch the video and read through the steps anytime you like. Thanks for joining me, and let's get started. Here's the image I have open on my screen. I downloaded this one from Adobe Stock. We can see that the man's teeth on the left have quite a bit of yellow in them, and the woman's teeth also have a bit of yellow, but not quite as much. If you're working on an image like this one, where you have 2 or more people in the photo, it may be tempting to try to whiten and brighten everyone's teeth at once. But you'll get better results if you work on one person's teeth at a time. The reason is that different amounts of yellow in the teeth will need different settings to whiten and brighten them. I'll start with the man on the left, and I'll go through the steps to whiten and brighten his teeth. Then I'll go through the same steps again to whiten and brighten the woman's teeth. The first thing we need to do is we need to draw a selection around the teeth. For that, we can use Photoshop's lasso tool. I'll select the lasso tool from the toolbar. Then I'll draw a rough selection around the teeth. There's no need to be precise at this point, because we can come back later and clean this area up. For now, all we need is a rough selection around the teeth, like so. Now that we have our selection in place, we can whiten and brighten the teeth using a HueSaturation adjustment layer. I'll drag my layer group out into the center here so we can better see what I'm doing. To add a HueSaturation adjustment layer, click on the New Fill or Adjustment Layer icon down here at the bottom of the Layers panel. Then choose HueSaturation from the list. Photoshop adds a HueSaturation adjustment layer above the image on the background layer. Notice that the adjustment layer includes a built-in layer mask, and we can see the layer mask thumbnail here in the Layers panel. Notice also that the layer mask is filled mostly with black. Black on the layer mask represents the area of our image where the effects of the HueSaturation adjustment layer are not going to be visible. Since most of the layer mask is filled with black, most of our image will not be affected. If we look closely, we can see a small area of white. White on the layer mask represents the area that will be affected. Now, where did that white come from? That is the area that we selected around the teeth. Photoshop used our selection to build our layer mask for us. We can actually see the layer mask itself in the document. To view your layer mask, on a Windows PC, press and hold the Alt key on your keyboard. On a Mac, press and hold the Option key. Then, with the key held down, click on the layer mask thumbnail. This switches our view from the image to the layer mask, and we can see that most of our layer mask is filled with black. So this is the area of our image that will not be affected by anything we do with the adjustment layer. The only area that will be affected is this area of white, and that's the area that we selected around the teeth. To switch back to the image, once again on a Windows PC, press and hold the Alt key on your keyboard, and on a Mac, press and hold the Option key, and click again on the layer mask thumbnail. And now we're back to seeing our image. Now, at the moment, I have the layer mask itself selected, and we know that because of this white highlight box that we see around the layer mask thumbnail. I actually need to have the adjustment layer itself selected. So to switch from the layer mask to the adjustment layer, I'll click on the HueSaturation icon. And now we can see that the white highlight box appears around the icon, letting me know that I have the adjustment layer itself selected, and we can see that the controls and options for the HueSaturation adjustment layer have appeared in Photoshop's Properties panel. Again, I'll click on the layer group and drag it out into the center so we can better see what I'm doing. I'll drag the Properties panel over to the teeth. Now, by default, a HueSaturation adjustment layer will affect every color in the image. Normally, that's what we want, but it's not what we want when we're trying to whiten teeth. To whiten the teeth, we need to reduce the amount of yellow in the teeth, which means we need a way to tell the HueSaturation adjustment layer that we want to affect only the yellows in the image. We can do that right here. This is the Edit option, and by default, it's set to Master. Master means every color. To switch from every color to just the yellows, click on the word Master and choose Yellows from the list. And now we'll be affecting only the yellows. To reduce the amount of yellow in the teeth, click on the Saturation slider and begin dragging it towards the left. If we drag the slider to the right, we increase the amount of yellow in the teeth because we're increasing the saturation of the yellow. Obviously, that's not what we want. We want to reduce the amount of yellow. So drag the slider towards the left. The further you drag to the left, the more you'll reduce the yellow. Now, what we don't want to do is we don't want to drag the slider all the way to the left to a value of -100. If we do, we'll completely remove the yellow from the teeth. That may sound like a good thing, but it's actually not. Healthy teeth always have a little bit of yellow in them. It's what helps them look healthy. When we completely remove the yellow, we end up with gray teeth, and gray is not a healthy color for teeth. It makes them look fake and lifeless. So to bring back a bit of yellow, I'm going to dial the saturation slider back to a value of around -80. And that looks good. Now, -80 works well for this particular person in this particular image, but the value you need may be different. So keep an eye on your image as you drag the saturation slider to judge the results. So at this point, we've whitened the teeth. Now we can brighten the teeth. To do that, we can use the same HueSaturation adjustment layer. But first, we need to tell the adjustment layer that we want to go back to affecting every color in the image. To switch back to every color, change the Edit option from Yellows back to Master. To brighten the teeth, click on the Lightness slider and begin dragging it towards the right. The further you drag to the right, the more you'll brighten the teeth. Now notice that we're also brightening the area around the teeth. And that's okay. As I said, we're going to come back and clean that area up. For now, just focus on the teeth themselves. And in this case, I think a value of around +20 works well. Again, you may need a different value for your image. So we've whitened the teeth and we've brightened the teeth. All we need to do now is clean up this area around the teeth. To do that, we'll simply paint with black on our layer mask, and any area that we paint with black will hide the effects of the adjustment layer. First, I'll select the layer mask itself by clicking on the layer mask thumbnail. Then, since we want to paint, I'll select Photoshop's brush tool from the toolbar. We need to paint with black, which means we need to make sure that our foreground color is set to black. We can see our current foreground and background colors down here near the bottom of the toolbar. Now by default, your foreground color will be set to white and your background color will be set to black. This is actually the opposite of what we need. We need the foreground color to be black. To swap your foreground and background colors, just press the letter X on your keyboard and watch what happens. I'll press the letter X, and that swaps the colors. So now my foreground color is black. We also need to make sure that our brush options in the options bar are set correctly. You'll want to make sure that your mode option, which is the blend mode of the brush, is set to normal. Your opacity is at 100%, and the flow is also at 100%. Then I'll drag my brush cursor down to the area where I want to hide, and I'll move my Properties panel out of the way. You'll most likely need to resize your brush, and you can do that from the keyboard. Press the left bracket key to make your brush smaller every time you press it, or press the right bracket key to make the brush larger. You'll also want to make sure that you're painting with a fairly soft edge brush. The reason is that we want to have smooth transitions between the teeth and the area that we're hiding. On a Windows PC, right-click anywhere on the image. On a Mac, press and hold the Control key on your keyboard and then click. This opens Photoshop's Brush Preset Picker. Change the hardness of your brush to around 50%. If you set the hardness all the way to 100%, your brush edges will be too hard and you'll see a very hard edge line around the area where you're painting. If you set the hardness to 0%, your edges will probably be too soft and you'll create too much of a feathering effect. A value of around 50% usually works well. To close out of the Brush Preset Picker, on a Windows PC, press the Enter key on your keyboard. On a Mac, press the Return key. Then, to clean up the area around the teeth, simply paint around the area with your brush. Because we're painting on a layer mask, not on the image itself, we don't actually see the color of our brush as we paint. Instead, everywhere that we paint hides the effect of the adjustment layer, making it easy to clean up the area, like so. I'll just continue painting around the teeth, and everywhere that I paint hides the effects of the adjustment layer. Now, if you make a mistake and accidentally do something like this, where you paint over the teeth and you bring back the yellowing, all you need to do is come back over here to your color swatches and press the letter X on your keyboard. Notice that once again swaps your foreground and background colors, making your foreground color white. Paint over the mistake with white to bring back the effects of the adjustment layer. Then, press the letter X again on your keyboard to swap your foreground and background colors and set your foreground color back to black. Then continue painting around the teeth to clean up the remaining area. I think I'm actually going to hide that one tooth there since it's in the background and we can't really see it anyway. And then I'll just continue painting around the teeth. Might have made a mistake there, so I'll just press the letter X to swap my foreground color to white, and then I'll just paint to bring back the whitening effect in that area. And I think I missed a spot there, so I'll switch my foreground color back to black, and I'll paint again over the teeth. Or sorry, not over the teeth, but over the area that I want to hide, like so. And I think that's looking pretty good. I might press the letter X on my keyboard to swap my foreground color back to white and just clean up that area right there, and then switch it back to black again, and clean up that little area right there. To see a before and after comparison, I'm going to drag my Properties panel out of the way here, and then I'll bring my Layers panel back over to the teeth. And to see a before and after comparison so you can judge the results, click on the Layer Visibility icon for the HueSaturation adjustment layer. If you click it once, you'll temporarily turn off the adjustment layer, bringing back the original yellow and brightness of the teeth. To turn the adjustment layer back on, click again in that empty box, and that turns the adjustment layer back on and brings back the whitening and brightening. And I think for the most part that looks pretty good. The only area that I'm not sure about is this area right here with these 3 or 4 teeth. If I turn the adjustment layer off, we can see that those teeth originally looked much darker than the other teeth, and that's because there's a shadow here. If I turn the adjustment layer back on, the teeth now look brighter. In fact, I think they're looking a bit too bright. I'm going to bring back some of their original brightness by painting once again over this area with black, but before I do, I'm going to lower the opacity of my brush. To do that, I'll go back up to the options bar and I'll lower the opacity from 100% down to 50%. And what that will do is let me bring back 50% of the original brightness of the teeth. Again, I'm still painting with black, but I'm only painting with my brush at 50% opacity. So I'll just paint once again over that area to bring back some of the original brightness in those teeth. And I think that's looking pretty good. It's also bringing back 50% of the original yellow, but I think in this case, I can get away with it. I think that actually looks better. Again, before and after. And there we go. So at this point, I've whitened and brightened the man's teeth and cleaned up the area around the teeth. Now I'll go through the same steps again to whiten and brighten the woman's teeth. I'll drag my properties panel out of the way and bring my layers panel over here as well, just to move everything out of the way for now. And the first thing I need to do is draw a selection outline around her teeth. So to do that, I'll go up to the toolbar and I'll select Photoshop's lasso tool. Then I'll once again draw a rough selection outline around her teeth. Again, we don't need to be precise here because we're going to come back later and clean this area up using our layer mask. So for now, a rough selection outline is all we need. And there we go. So now that I have my selection in place, I'll drag my layers panel over here so we can see what I'm doing, and I'll add a hue saturation adjustment layer by clicking on the new fill or adjustment layer icon and choosing hue saturation. And I'll I'll resize my layers panel here so we can see all of our layers. And notice that Photoshop has added a second hue saturation adjustment layer above the original. The second one here is the one that I'll be using to whiten and brighten the woman's teeth. The one below it is the one that I used to whiten and brighten the man's teeth. So again, I will drag my layers panel out of the way and I'll bring my properties panel down here to the teeth. And to reduce the amount of yellow in the teeth, the first thing we need to do is change our edit option from master to yellows. Then I'll simply click on the saturation slider and begin dragging it towards the left. And the further I drag, the more I reduce the yellow in the teeth. In her case, since she didn't have as much yellow as the man did, I think a value of around -70 works well. Then to brighten her teeth, I'll change the edit option from yellows back to master, so I'm affecting every color in the image, and I'll click on the lightness slider and begin dragging it towards the right. Again, her teeth were already brighter than his teeth were, so I think in this case a value of around +10 is all we need. There we go, +10. So all I need to do now is clean up this area around her teeth. For that, I'll paint with black on the layer mask. So I'll drag the properties panel out of the way. I'll make sure I have the layer mask selected. So there we can see the white highlight box around the thumbnail. I'll go over to the toolbar and I'll select Photoshop's brush tool. I'll make sure that my foreground color is set to black. And I'll make sure that I have my brush options in the options bar set correctly. So I need the mode option to be set to normal. I need to increase the opacity from 50% to 100%. And I need the flow to be set to 100%. And now everything is set the way it should be. So now I'll drag my brush cursor down to the area that I want to hide. I'll resize my brush using the left and right bracket keys. And I'll right-click on a Windows PC or Control-click on a Mac anywhere in the image to open Photoshop's brush preset picker, and I'll just make sure that the hardness of my brush is around 50%. I'll press Enter on a Windows PC or Return on a Mac to close the brush preset picker. Then I'll simply move my brush cursor over to the area around the teeth, and I'll resize my brush a little bit, and I'll begin painting to clean the area up, hiding the effects of the adjustment layer in the area where I'm painting. Again, if you make a mistake, just press the letter X on your keyboard to set your foreground color to white, and then paint over that area to bring back the effects of the adjustment layer. Then press the letter X again to set your foreground color back to black and continue painting around the teeth. And I'll just continue painting around the bottom here. And I'll clean up that area right there. I'll get in there under that tooth. At this point, I'm going to resize my brush so I can get right into that area there. And that looks good. And I'll just go back around one more time here just to make sure that I've got everything. Maybe get right in there with a smaller brush. There we go. And I think I was able to clean the area up nicely. And there we go. To see a before and after comparison, I'll drag my layers panel over here and I'll click on the layer visibility icon for the hue saturation adjustment layer to temporarily turn that adjustment layer off. And now we can see the original brightness and the original yellow in the teeth. I'll click again on the visibility icon to turn the layer back on. And now we can see the whitening and brightening. I think I may have actually missed a spot or two there, so I'll just paint around the area once again just to make sure that I got everything. And I'll again do a before and after. Well, maybe one more time here with a smaller brush just to clean up that spot right there. And maybe grab this area right there that I think I missed the first time. Again, before and after. I think that looks good. Now, if you want to see a before and after of both people's teeth or everyone's teeth at the same time, on a Windows PC, press and hold the Alt key on your keyboard. On a Mac, press and hold the Option key, and this time click on the layer visibility icon for the background layer itself, the layer that holds our image. And what this does is it temporarily turns off every layer except for the background layer. So with both of our adjustment layers turned off, we can see the original yellow and the original brightness of both people's teeth. To turn both of these adjustment layers back on, once again on a Windows PC, press and hold the Alt key on your keyboard, and on a Mac, press and hold the Option key, and click again on that layer visibility icon for the background layer. And that turns both adjustment layers back on, and we can see the whitening and brightening result. And there we have it. That's how to whiten and brighten teeth in Photoshop using hue saturation adjustment layers. I hope you enjoyed this video, and hopefully you learned something along the way, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for joining me. I'm Steve Patterson from PhotoshopEssentials.com.